So, welcome, Carolina, to our very first episode of the Health ROI Show. And I really wanted to start with sleep, not only because it's my worst area of well-being personally, so my biggest development area, but also there's just so much coming out at the moment. It's just such a huge part of our overall well-being, and I couldn't think of anyone better to have this first discussion with. So, for those who have not yet come across Carolina, Carolina Ramusky is the founder of Primordial Sleep Lab and Lullaby Lab, and she specializes in helping high-performing entrepreneur parents optimize sleep, both through evolutionary biology, biohacking, and circadian health. You'll tell me how. Your unique approach combines both quantum biology and then also ancestral nutrition, which I think is absolutely fascinating, so we'll dig into that. And you use that to address very specific sleep challenges faced by executives who are building businesses, but also raising children. And obviously,
Yes.
many people are in that middle phase of life where, they're growth on the work side, but also huge demand on the family side. And that's very rewarding, but it can also be super stressful. So it's a growing demographic in the high achiever community and our protocol
Yes.
community and our transform perform communities who are looking to sort of optimize performance without sacrificing their family life. So if you
Yeah.
don't mind, is there anything I've missed, or should we jump straight into questions? How did you get into this? Maybe is a great place to start.
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me. It's such a pleasure to be talking to you and your audience. Congrats on starting this. I think it's so important. And sleep really is the foundation of health. My background is actually nutrition to begin with. I studied naturopathic nutrition, which is a holistic side of nutrition. And when I was studying, I was learning about all the pillars of health, the sleep, nutrition, exercise, mindset, emotions. But then when in 2020, when I decided to switch to sleep and I started to learn more about it, I realized that sleep is not a pillar, it's actually the foundation where all those other pillars sit on and are built upon, because sleep has
Oh,
the power of breaking or making every single system in the body. And it can really impact on your nutrition, on your exercise, on your mood, on your emotions, all of that. So I think that's when I decided to start and focusing on sleep. First, because I was always very passionate about it. I always really found the brain and neuroscience in general really interesting. I'm a little bit of a nerd, so I always liked to, understand what happens behind the scenes and the science of it. And then pandemic hit. I see so many people suffering with sleep. Obviously, the times are really hard, uncertainty, anxiety, all of that. But then I started to realize that we actually have a pandemic of sleep deprivation in the whole world. It's mad. Most people don't sleep well. I think you know, every animal sleeps, but we humans are the only one who actually delay sleep on purpose, skip sleep on purpose. No other species do that. And we grew with this culture of I sleep when I'm dead, sleep's not that important. But I think because most people don't understand it. And even the science and scientists, and only now, like the research on sleep is quite new. Like there's a lot of stuff coming out now, and I think people are starting to give more priority to it now and understand a little bit more. And even in the health space was not something that was always talked about, but I think now is growing, which is great. So I think it's very important to do that. And then moving into parents is I've worked before becoming a nutritionist. I worked as a nanny for 15 years. So I have a lot of background, and like also worked with children, like teaching sports, teaching in school, all this kind of thing. So I have a huge background with families and children, and I just thought I should combine this and help families, and not just the kids, not just the parents, but family as a whole, because every family has their own rhythm, their own lifestyle. And when someone is out of that rhythm, and that everything kind of falls apart. So, I like to kind of get everything together and help everyone that needs to do. Sometimes it will be focused on the child first. Sometimes it will be focusing on the parents. It really depends, and it's very individualized. And I see health as individuals, like we're all different. There's no one size fits all. And yeah, so I like the idea of teaching people how to understand their own bodies, how to deal with everything that they're doing. That our bodies, the only thing we have from when we're born to we die, and most of us know nothing about it. We know how our devices work,
yeah.
but most of us don't know what to feed ourselves, how to deal with our emotions, etc., etc. So that's where I like to start.
Amazing. And that really reminds me, actually, there's a quote from Warren Buffett about if someone were to give you a car at the beginning of your life and say, this is the one car you will have for the rest of your life, for all of your days, that how well you would look after that car when you think about that, and how much you would
Yeah,
protect it and fuel it and service it and do the MOT and polish it. And yet that's exactly where we are with our bodies. And
exactly.
we don't even think about it most of the time. And I think
It's
the
true.
whole, I'll sleep when I'm dead, that whole kind of culture thing and the whole hustle culture, we've had a whole generation, if not two now, go through that and realize that actually we're kind of ruining our later years. Because if you look
Yeah,
at the links to dementia, Alzheimer's, everything else, and even just our general longevity and physical well-being, and also like the payoff wasn't really worth it. Like doesn't matter how much money you've got if your whole
so
central
true.
system is askew, if your family's dysfunctional because you don't have the right patterns amongst you and everything else, it really isn't a great trade.
Yeah, and it's so true. And also, like sleep, the problem with sleep as well is that the consequences of sleep only show up later in life.
Mm.
You have immediate consequences, of course, like the fatigue, brain fog, moodiness, all of like immune system gets weaker, you get sick more often, all of those things. But the real problems happen later in life, where, like you just said, dementia, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, all of those cognitive dysfunctions, most of them are related to poor sleep.
We're only seeing it now with our parents' generation, how much to the fore, right? And then we I think are actually worse in terms of like, and I have to put my hand up. For the first decade of my career, I slept 4 hours a night. I thought that made me like a corporate warrior
Superhero. Yeah.
machine kind of thing. I mean, I was awful to work with because I had zero emotional intelligence. My patience was like that big, like awful
Yeah.
to be around, but I thought that I was fine. And to your point, you're just delaying an enormous debt, basically, health-wise. But
Yeah.
before we freak everybody out completely, steps can we take? Let's say we are where we are. Like, what steps can we take to sort of start taking care of ourselves? And I think it's really important, the point you touch on around family. So even if you don't have
Yeah.
children, especially if you
Yeah.
do, there are other people in your life, right? It's not like you can just go, right, I'm going to start going to bed at 8 p.m. every night if you've got completely different patterns, lifestyles happening around you. So where do we
Yeah.
even begin?
I think I think first of all, awareness, understand that you have a problem. That not necessarily a problem, but you're not optimal in that area, and that you we can always improve, I guess, with everything.
Mhm.
And then awareness is paramount. You have to have some awareness to start changing anything. And then understanding your own biology. So we have a thing called chronotype. I don't know if you know what chronotype is. So it's basically your genetic predisposition of being a morning person, evening person, somewhere in between. And that tells a lot and help us a lot with, especially with timing, time to sleep, time to eat, time to exercise.
Mhm.
We have our circadian rhythm. You have a master clock on your brain, pineal gland called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, and that is activated by light. So daylight, sunlight, even dark, even cloudy days is still there. So it's activated by light. And then every single organ in your body, you have a clock as well. And those clocks, they are activated by food timing. So all of this plays a role in your biology, in your the way your body works. And then once we can, as much as we can, align with our biology in that circadian rhythm and those timing, the healthier we are. So it's quite simple and it's free and it's easy. So basically, you just have to sync yourself with light, say 30 minutes. The first 30 minutes that you wake up, instead of looking into your phone, go outside, just view light. 10 minutes, 15 minutes if it's sunny, a little bit longer, 20, 25 minutes if it's really cloudy or winter time. And this sets your circadian rhythm. And then if you have a breakfast as well in the morning, I know there's a lot of people who don't like eating
Mm.
breakfast, but it's quite, especially for women, it's very important because of hormones and how everything works. So eating nice breakfast. Ideally, you want to keep low in carb for sharpness and focus. So having like a high fat, high protein breakfast as opposed to a high carb one will help you stay more alert. And if you have your biggest meal during the daylight hours, your body deals with it better than in the night. Yeah, starting with light and then meal times and exercise time as well. So all of these you can, and using those three things, you can also shift your circadian rhythm back and forth as well if you need to. We are highly adaptable beings. So, there's so many things that we can do. And they're not like, because I think like most programs, health programs, is just like cut this, add this, do this, da 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 da. And if you start just with the basics, go back to the basics, and everything else kind of falls into place easier. Not instantly, but it falls into place easier, I would say.
No, absolutely. And like I see this all the time with clients, particularly female clients. They rarely believe me that my first piece of advice is going to be take it easier, but adjust your sleep patterns. And then it only
Yeah,
takes, 2 to 3 weeks before their hormones are resetting because they are
yeah,
sleeping in a way that is aligned with their chronotype. And then actually things like the weight drops off, they're not retaining as much
yes,
water, the brain fog is lifting. So but it seems like such a fundamental thing and so simple, but it
yeah,
isn't, of course, right? If you have to like if
yeah.
you so I'll take my old life. I worked in Hong Kong,
Mm-hmm.
and there are calls from 8 in the morning all the way through to like 10, 11 p.m. I'm a morning chronotype person, but you just push through. And so
Yeah,
it seems simple, but obviously lifestyle plays a really, really big part in it. And we're
it
not
really
doing it
does.
the way we used to, like our
Exactly.
ancestors used to. Um, so then let's add kids into the mix. So let's
Mm-hmm.
say we have a couple who are fairly high achieving or very high achieving, take your pick, jobs. They've managed to get their sleep into kind of a decent enough rhythm. Sometimes, obviously, there'll be exceptions. There's occasionally a
Yeah,
night out on the booze or whatever, which is always going to throw
yeah.
things off. But then they're planning to have a family. What sort of
Mm-hmm.
changes should that couple be thinking about if baby comes?
Yeah, I think I would say kind of prepare beforehand, get as much sleep in your bank as you can before, and have a routine. I think having a routine is really important. If you have regular, I guess like the main thing for sleep, for quality sleep is consistency. You know, I know if you have an erratic life and different times and everything is a little bit hard, but if you can kind of just like one wake up time every day or a bedtime that is every consistent every day, your body knows how to use the time more appropriately. So ideally you would have a consistent bedtime and a consistent wake time, but I know
Mhm.
that's not always possible, and also we have to be flexible with ourselves. We can't just be so rigid. In a perfect world, that's what we would do. If you have a simple enough routine that you can actually adapt to that, perfect. If not, you have to cue your circadian rhythm with light, like I said before, the light, movement, and food, time, and temperature. Your body temperature has a huge impact as well. It kind of varies during the day. During midday, your temperature is higher. At night, you want your body temperature to drop so you can sleep a little bit faster and stay asleep better. The best way to lower your body temperature is having a warm shower or bath,
Mm.
as contradictory that sounds.
It's really strange. So what, you have the hot shower to then your body will counter it by cooling down internally.
Yes. So basically, cold water raises your core body temperature and hot water drops it. So, which
Interesting.
is very counterintuitive, but that's how it works. So that's it's simple things, like you don't have to have high tech, you don't have to create lots of these different things, the supplements. They help for sure, and some people they're very useful. I use some supplements not every day, but they're useful. But they're simple things that you can do naturally just to kind of get your body in sync as well with the circadian rhythm.
So
So
work on the
going back
basics.
to the children, it's gonna
Yeah, yeah.
where I didn't go. I think kind of preparing. So you're having that routine in place if you can, as much as you can. Um, create I like a wind down routine, even if it's 30 minutes, if it's 20 minutes, just signal your body that you're going to sleep. For usually more for moms, because usually the moms that are the ones that stay with the baby, especially in the beginning. Sleep when your baby sleep, because most women they don't do that. They try, okay, baby slept, I'm gonna get things going, but you're already tired as it is, and this will just take a toll, even a bigger toll on your mood and your patience and all of that. So just gonna make you more tired. So if you can, When your baby have a little sleep, have a little sleep with them. And, it's normal and understand that it's going to pass. The first 3 months is really tough because there's no way around that your baby's not going to be sleeping the whole night through. Some people are very lucky they have some babies who do, but most babies don't. And you can't really sleep train a baby before 4 months because of how their sleep cycles are. Babies before 3 months, they only have two sleep cycles. And then when they turn 4 months, they have four sleep cycles like us, adults. And then that's when it changes. And then that's when you can start creating this routine and kind of teaching. This is a skill, right? Sleep is a skill. It's not like just, oh, go. No, it's not like that. You have to learn and you have to master it. And you have to be feeling safe, ultimately. Your body really needs that safety to be able to fall asleep, and it's just creating those things. So I think kind of for parents who are preparing to get the baby, just try to, be as much as in sync with your biology as possible. Anchor the morning light for all of them, for the baby, for you, for your partner, everyone. Light, exercise, food timing, all of these things is kind of the same for everyone. So I
Mm.
think preparing, I don't know if I answered the questions. I hope so.
I think you totally answered the question. There are a few threads I want to pull on, if that's okay. Really, like one that really made me sit back and think was the safety piece,
Yeah.
because so many people who struggle with insomnia are in very high pressure, high stress jobs. And just because they're not doing those jobs, like there's zero psychological security. We've got massive restructures in every industry and every organization. So you can't be like, well, it's just bedtime now, so now we need to feel safe.
Yeah.
If your whole system is wired for attack all through the day, right? So
Yeah.
that's fascinating. I mean, that's such a fundamental systemic issue, and no wonder we
Yeah,
have so much insomnia across adults in the
exactly.
world.
And it's just like you giving your body that time to come down and I think like one thing that is very useful is using the same cue every day because your body loves regularity, it loves certainty, loves to know what's happening. So if you every day you have this wind down routine that you can do for even 20 minutes, no
Mhm.
screens, no emails, no work, have like a me time, have your shower, have something, do anything that makes you calm, and then say if he's reading a book, just read a book. Say if he's doing some meditation, if he's doing light stretching, coloring, knitting, whatever it is that floats your boat, that makes you relaxed. And if you do that every night, then that cues safety for your body to say, oh, now I can actually let go and go to sleep. Journaling is very helpful if you're someone that thinks a lot, creating lists, creating just brain dump before going to bed so that all those things are not in your head. I think this is super helpful. But safety is a huge thing. I've had a few clients who have a lot of problems sleeping when they go to hotels and a different environment. And that comes with the safety thing. You don't use a different environment you don't know, you're not familiar with, you don't know what's going to happen. So if you bring something from your home with you that you always have, this could be
Mhm.
kind of a cue that you can use. This could be quite helpful as well.
Yeah, that's so interesting. So I've recently moved. I live in my parents' home now, which is, every 44-year-old woman's dream to move back with her parents. But my sleep here is incredibly good. And I wonder if, like, so much better than when I was in Hong Kong, which obviously environmentally, even in a soundproofed room with like blackout blinds and stuff, you're in the most dense city in the world, or one of them, like there's 7.1
Yeah.
million people right next to you. So it's harder to switch off. But then coming home to your childhood home, just
It's
literally,
so
I'm out.
familiar.
Yeah. But that's weird. It's like at such a later stage in life. I mean, I haven't lived here for over 30 years. So it's,
Yeah,
anyway.
but still it's ingrained in you, like you grew up there. So it's like it's your safety net, right? You know that you're safe there,
Familiarity.
you've got your parents, you know it's familiar. And we
Yeah.
like the familiarity to feel safe. So that's very important.
Okay, super action oriented audience. So, one thing that everyone's ears will have pricked up on was supplements. So,
Yes.
which supplements? I know you said you don't take them every single day, but if someone is
Yeah.
struggling with sleep, what should they consider from a supplement perspective?
Magnesium glycinate is the best one. That's would be my first one. If you are a little bit anxious, I would put together L-theanine.
Okay.
Very helpful. I normally take, I'm not a very anxious person anyway, but I feel like I sleep deeper if I have magnesium glycinate and L-theanine together. Another one that I've been experimenting lately is reishi mushroom,
Mm-hmm.
functional mushroom. But the reishi is very nuanced because it's an adaptogen. So if your sleep is in a kind of messed, taking it before bed might help. Some people really helps. For me, if I had like if my sleep is off and I take reishi before bed, it really helps. But if my sleep is already in a nice rhythm, it disrupts my sleep. So I have to
Oh.
take it during the day because reishi also helps with cortisol reduction. So you can take it early in the day, so you still have the benefit of the cortisol reducing, and then it does impact your sleep.
Mm.
So I would say these would be the three that I like the most.
Okay. Excellent. Because there's a lot out there. I remember there was a whole phase of like everyone was taking GABA for a while, but I was just
Yeah.
having really crazy dreams on it. So you wake up and you feel like you haven't been asleep. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe that's helped with something, but I didn't feel rested.
Yeah, glycine is an amino acid also is quite helpful for sleep as well, which is the same with magnesium glycinate has a little bit of glycine in it. And glycine is quite good, but also for some people it gives really vivid dreams.
Mm.
So you have to experiment. There's no other way of finding out what works for you. But I would say, yeah, magnesium glycine. I think because there's so many forms of magnesium, but what I found with me and most of my clients is the glycinate one is the best one for sleep, or
Okay.
most people.
Fabulous. And then I know that you've talked about going back to basics. I can't get away from the
Yeah.
fact that we're both laden with gadgets, though. Whenever we move our hands, I
Yes.
can see multiple gadgets. So if people do want to invest or have already invested,
Yeah.
what would you advise? Because obviously, and I've heard quite a lot actually about people getting quite stressed about their sleep
Yeah.
scores, then that actually being disruptive. So
Yes.
what would you advise to clients on that one?
Don't obsess, first of all. They are helpful for you to learn your patterns and understand what they are, but they're not 100% accurate. I would say look at the numbers, but how you feel is more important, 100% more important. So say, for example, and it happens quite often, my Oura ring will say that I had an amazing sleep and I felt like I didn't sleep that well. I woke up a few times and I'm not feeling my greatest. Or the other way around, it's going to say that I had a horrible sleep and I actually feel fine. So how you feel, checking in with yourself, like the way you are. Am I feeling refreshed when I wake up? Do I need to hit this snooze button a few times? Do I need a ton of caffeine to keep me going throughout the day? This is all the signs that you should look for. So if you had good quality sleep, you should feel rested, you should feel happy. Your mood is a huge indicator of how quality
Mm,
of your sleep is, how irritable you are. So if you're irritable, you know that your REM sleep probably wasn't the best. You cut your sleep short, which is the 5 a.m. club, is crazy because most people, but if it's your chronotype, then you're fair enough, that's good for you. But if
mm,
it's not your chronotype, then you're cutting sleep a lot, because basically what happens is most of REM sleep happens in the later part of the morning. So if you're not if you're a morning person, waking at 5 is perfectly fine and you're not missing on REM sleep. But if you're not, then you're missing a crucial part of the last 2 hours. Say you're a hummingbird like me, like 50% of the population, which is like 7 to 11 sort of thing, kind of in sync with the daylight, with the day cycle. Uh, so if you're meant to wake up at 7, if you wake up at 5, you're cutting 2 hours of crucial REM sleep. Then you know that you're going to be irritable, you're going to have mood, also memory problems, impacts all of your emotional state. So it's all to do with that, your REM sleep. Then your deep sleep happens mostly between 10 and 2 a.m., 10 p.m., 2 a.m. So if you're going to bed too late as well, unless you're a night owl, night owls naturally go to bed around 12, 1. Night hours, you're not meant to be going to bed at 3, 4 a.m., okay? This is too much. So normally a morning person would go to bed around 8:39, 9:30. Uh, and hummingbird person will go 10, 11. That's the kind of time they will be going. And then a night owl will be going 12, 1 latest. So if you're cutting going to bed too late as well, then you're missing a big chunk of your deep sleep, which restores your physical health. So that's
mm.
why you feel exhausted and not rested. So it's important to kind of find a sweet spot.
Okay, so we've got night owls, hummingbirds, and then morning people. The morning people don't get
Yeah,
a bird?
morning lark. Yeah,
Morning,
morning larks.
here we go, morning lark. Okay. And can people change from one to the other over time, or are they always kind of set on a chronotype?
No, so basically it changes throughout your life, but once you hit adulthood around your 20s, that is settled.
Okay.
So obviously we are adaptable and we can kind of move a little bit here and there, but not really. So your health suffers a lot if you're not too much in sync with it.
Mm.
So basically, when we're kids, we are morning larks. Parents know children wake up really early, and that's how they do. And then teenage years, we go into night owls. Teenagers, they suffer a lot of going to bed early and waking up early for school. They struggle
Yeah.
the first few hours of school, it's horrible for them. And I know there's a lot of parents that they don't know that. They think that their kids just lazy or, they don't want to, they're refusing to go to bed. But biologically, it's just quite hard for them. And you put devices into it and then it makes it even worse.
Mm.
So that, and then on your 20s, kind of you're settled into your genetic chronotype. And then later in life, after 65, then you shift back into being more morning, more fragmented because your hormones profile changes as well. You don't produce as much melatonin, all of that. So it's kind of how it works.
Yeah. I've more recently started to not have an alarm clock, and I use my dog as the alarm clock because
I love
she's
that.
responsive to the light, even behind curtains.
Yes.
But she's very often like, by 9 o'clock, she's like, no, we should be going to bed. Whereas I would keep going for like 2, 3 more hours. And
Yeah.
then like, and it's really noticeable as the light changes with autumn coming in the Northern
Yes.
Hemisphere. She's then sleeping later and later. And it's just, I don't know, a lot of my life motto these days is like, be more dog, because they're just
Yes.
still very attuned to themselves.
Yes, 100%.
Think that as humans, and obviously this is everything that you do around the primordial stuff and the ancestral, and I just want to dig into that a little bit more. We've
Yeah.
moved so far away with sort of work patterns, the industrial construct that we've set up, and then obviously artificial
Yeah.
light, and you mentioned screens. So
Yeah.
if a client comes to you, how do you sort of get them back on that more ancestral path of how we're meant to be?
Yeah. So I think, like I said before, starting with the light, I think that's the most important thing because it really sets your circadian rhythm in the morning is the most important thing. Ideally, you don't want to wear any sunglasses in the morning at all. I know people love sunglasses, but your eyes need the light. It's really important. And then it's what sets your melatonin as well for
Amazing.
success, is how you regulate your melatonin naturally. So melatonin is activated by darkness. So in the morning, you want to have as much light in your eyes as you can. Obviously, not looking directly at the sunlight, but even if in the shade, you just want the brightness of the day hit your eyes, and as much as possible. And like say, if you ideally, what you would do is like you would first 30 minutes of waking up, you would see light around 10, between 10 and 12, you would go outside as well, just so you can get that light. And then evening walk, sunset, you want to see that as well and dim all the lights in your house. I think like overhead lights, they signal to your body that is the sun. So ideally in the evening, you don't want any overhead lights. You want side lights on the floor if you can, dim
Oh,
as much
really?
as you yeah, dim as much as you can. Ideally, you want in an ideal world, you would have candle lights, kind of brightness, but nowadays you have smart bulbs, you
Really?
have so many different things that you can use, even for night lights, like going to the bathroom and all of that. Ideally, you want the amber lights, you don't want any white or like super bright. So it starts with that, I think, with light and movement as well is very important for like really busy people. If you can take like walking meetings are very helpful, especially if you can do that in a park or surrounded by nature.
Okay, so we're
This
going for
is
green.
yeah, I think it's like going back to the basics in the sense like what did our ancestors do? They lived outside most of the time. They had a lot of movement. They're always in sync with the light and movement and the temperature. So paying attention to the temperature in the morning for you to be super alert. You can have a cold shower that will make you super alert for sure. And then in the evening, a warm shower just to kind of calm down signal safety to your body, drop your core body temperature, that just kind of things just happens. And I think this is the main thing that we kind of moved away. We are sitting down all day. We have artificial lights all over us the whole time. So it's just kind of simple things that is doable. It's not too hard to do that. We just have to put a little bit of effort, like
Mm.
with everything, I guess. So yeah, I think I would start with that. And then obviously being very personalized, what's your chronotype? What's the timing that you need to do things? And your chronotype will dictate all the perfect timings for you to do everything, to eat, to exercise, to sleep. And
How would you recommend someone work out what their chronotype is?
so there's a few quizzes that you can take online. I do have one. I can send you
Well,
a link. Yeah, so everyone can do is very easy. Basically, your chronotype will ask things about your preferences. Say, what time, if you could choose, if you didn't have anything, like what time would you have a workout? What time would be your preference? This kind of things kind of tell what's your favorite meal of the day, breakfast, dinner, lunch, this sort of things. And then you can find out also it comes from your genetics. So depending on which one your parents are, and if they are mixed, and you can do that, and it's very easy to find. There's a few of them online, but I'll give you guys the one I have, and then you can find out. And then once you know that, it's just so much easier to kind of work around as well, and like understand like your workload, understand your lifestyle, and kind of work with it instead of like trying to make too much changes like radically, I guess.
yeah. I mean, there is obviously, if you realize, and I think deep down a lot of us know, like if we're not aligned with our natural energy patterns and our chronotype and how we should be sleeping, it's easier said than done to then just wholesale change everything, right? So I think it's small habit changes over time, tracking what and really doubling down on that where possible. I have one
Yeah.
more question on this though.
Yeah, go on.
What happens? You mentioned about your chronotype comes from your parents.
Mhm.
What do you see working for if you have a couple and they're completely different? So I'm a
Yeah.
morning lark. I married a night owl. I'm not saying that
Yeah.
our types was the reason why we're not still married, but it
Yeah.
is hard when you're trying to share a life with someone when you have completely different energy patterns.
Yes. Yes. I think it's important to first understand that you are different and respect as well, like each other's rhythms, I guess. I think that's the start. And then I think finding middle ground between both. Like, for example, if you have kids,
Hmm.
I think, for example, the morning person would get on with the morning routine, and the late night person would get on with the evening routine, and sort of split in that way, and find middle ground between the two. Because if both of you are not sleeping the best, then everything crashes.
Yeah.
Like you're both reactive, and then it doesn't work. But I think it's just kind of finding the balance between your life. Where can you align, and where can you actually go separate ways for certain things? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it makes perfect sense. I mean, as with any relationship thing, it requires compromise, doesn't it? So it's
Yes, yes.
just about working out how as a team you can work best together. But
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
respecting the difference up front, and because there's so much more information about this now than it used to be, it's not
Yeah,
just a, oh, you're just lazy, you're not up with early bird
yeah,
catch the worm is the kind of thing I was raised with.
yeah. It really is. I think there's a huge movement now, especially in the UK. I think there's a lot of experts that are trying to change that
Mm.
and push school times for teenagers a little bit later, because ultimately they are the only ones who suffer, right? So I think now with remote work, and there's a lot of more companies that are being more flexible with that. I think hopefully we can see a change of that in the future.
Yeah.
But it's tricky.
Yeah, and I really hope that trend will continue as opposed to everyone just going everyone
Yeah.
back into the office, come and conform,
Yes.
because I mean, we've proven that productivity increases. We've proven that actually it can be done. It just
Yeah.
requires a much more mature kind of management, which is harder work for management. And so hence we just
Yeah.
see a default back to the office.
Yeah. And then also people being more responsible and like accountable for themselves as well. Like it doesn't really, I guess, like ultimately for business owners, like what matters is if the work is delivered, it doesn't matter when.
Yeah.
So unless we have that kind of shift in mentality is a little bit tricky.
No, absolutely. I mean, it should just be about results, shouldn't it? But now
Yeah.
I'm just veering into my other business. So we'll stay focused on. Carolina, this has been absolutely brilliant. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you think is key? So for our listeners, what they should be taking away?
I think just listen to your body. It's very important to listen to your body. Don't go into the thinking that this is all or nothing because life is not like that. Life happens, poor sleep happens. Even I, as an expert, still have poor nights of sleep, sometimes. Just understand that it's okay. You can bounce back. You're not going to die unless you keep doing that every day. But, like, just listen to your body, be kind to yourself, like really, pay attention to what's going on with your own self, learn your patterns. I think that's really important just to kind of be aware of your body, how to best improve your health for yourself and for those that are around you, because it really has a huge impact on everyone, I guess. And yeah, I think just, learn about yourself. I think that's my main thing is so
Yeah.
important.
And it's probably something we spend nowhere near enough time doing because we just try
Yes.
to conform to the latest fad. So learn about
Yeah,
ourselves,
exactly.
get back to basics. And then one massive takeaway I'm going to do is the sort of 20-minute minimum routine of just telling my body it's safe
Yeah,
so that I can actually shut down and achieve that deeper sleep. So amazing.
exactly.
Fabulous. Well, we will link obviously to your site and everything else. How can our listeners be of help to you? Where can they find you?
Mainly LinkedIn, my main platform, Carolina Ramusky there. I also have an Instagram, but which I'm trying to grow, which is takes a lot of work. So it's at Primordial Sleep Lab, and the one for parents is Lullaby Lab Net, and yeah, website as well. But mainly, I think LinkedIn is my main platform. Thank you
Fantastic.
so
Well,
much for having me.
start following on Instagram. I actually, ironically, deleted Instagram from my phone. I only have it on my laptop because I was finding that was my
Perfect.
worst thing at night. The reels
Yes,
are just so addictive. So I was just
they
like, right,
are.
has to stop. Like, where are the last 20 minutes gone? So
Exactly. Which is that you say I'm gonna go for 5 minutes, and when you see an hour's gone past, and you're like, what happened? You just think
rubbish, right? You don't even feel good. Like the first five
yeah,
minutes, and then afterwards, you're just
yeah,
like, oh, I'm a zombie now. So yeah, so when I'm logged on, I will go and find you on Instagram.
perfect.
Fabulous. Thank you so, so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And I know this is going to be an amazing first episode because it's something that everyone I speak to needs to work on. So thank you very, very
Thank
much.
you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and yeah, awesome. Thank you. I really
Absolutely.
had fun talking to you.
Take care and speak to you
You too.
soon.